The water supply system of Byzantine Constantinople was, with the partial exception of Rome's, the most impressive anywhere in the ancient world. A vast network of canals, channels, and aqueducts, totaling some 550 kilometers in length, carried water from the hills of Thrace down into the heart of the imperial city. This is the Aqueduct of Valens, one of the final links in this chain. The Aqueduct of Valens was a bridge between the third and fourth hills of the city. It served to keep water flowing at a high elevation into the heart of Constantinople and terminated in a cistern near the Hippodrome. Completed by the eponymous emperor in the late 4th century, it served, with various breaks for repairs and other interruptions, until the 19th century, a testament to the durability of Roman engineering. We're about to go down into the most famous of Constantinople's cisterns, but before we do, a brief overview. The aqueducts of Byzantine Constantinople fed a vast network of cisterns, by the latest count more than 200 of them. The largest, the cisterns of Aedius, Aspar, and Mochius, were open and located near the Theodosian walls, on the outskirts of the city. The largest covered cistern is the so-called Basilica Cistern, located just to my left. That cistern, built or renovated by Justinian, had a capacity of 80,000 cubic meters of water. The Basilica Cistern is enormous. 336 columns, each 9 meters tall, support a roof that seems to recede into shadow. Very much a Mines of Moria vibe. It was expanded, or possibly built initially, by Justinian, and named for the structure that stood on top of it. As you can see, Justinian used quite a bit of spolia, that is, material from earlier buildings, in its construction. That's why, despite being utilitarian in this use, many of the columns have elaborate capitals. When the cistern was in use, it would have been full, or nearly so. You can see the lines left on many columns by centuries of accumulated sediment. It remained full long after it was forgotten by the outside world. In the 16th century, when the French humanist Petrus Gillius rediscovered it, he found it almost brimful and teeming with fish, which local inhabitants would venture out on boats to catch. As mentioned earlier, there are many spolia in the Basilica Cistern. These columns and bases are examples, as famously is this pair of gorgon heads, which may have come from the Forum of Constantine. The Basilica Cistern was fed by the Aqueduct of Hadrian, which was far older, having been completed when Constantinople was still Byzantion. Beside me is another famous spolia, the so-called teardrop column. These patterns represent freshly cut branches, and make the column seem as though it's a felled tree. There are some like it in the form of Theodosius. This is the Cistern of Philoxenus, known in Turkish as the Binbirdirek Cistern, the cistern of 1,001 columns. There are actually 224 columns, enough to make this the second largest cistern known from Byzantine Constantinople. It is about half the size of the Basilica Cistern, and like that cistern, it was constructed, or at least heavily renovated, in the reign of Justinian. It served the Hippodrome, which was quite near here, and was thus located at a relatively high elevation, and was fed by the Aqueduct of Valens. An interesting feature of this cistern is that the columns which support its roof are actually double columns, clamped together with these marble collars. The rest of the bottom column is buried in centuries of sediment beneath the modern floor. Here, where a small area has been cleared, you can see how deep the cistern actually is. And that concludes our very brief tour. Thank you for watching.